All right, I'm going to call the meeting of the Sanborn Regional School Board to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, manifest documents are going around. Tom, I didn't see any nominations or resignations.
We do have
Do you have one?
a nomination,
Okay,
and that is Kayleen Frazier. She's a district social worker, and she'll be working district-wide, and that is part of the grant that we received.
Move to approve. Second.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you.
Madam Chairman, do you need a motion on the minutes?
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Move to
Karen.
approve.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Oh, sorry.
I'm abstaining. I wasn't here.
Oh, right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. All in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
All right. And then Moore is abstaining. Thank you. Okay, superintendent's report.
We do have some resignations. Yep. I'll read these. Ava Edens, occupational therapist. Nancy Fisk, music teacher. She's retiring. Daniel Burtis, physical education. Victoria Sursosimo, special education case manager. Emily Dresser, STEAM teacher. Lori Jamalowitz, grade 6 teacher. And Michelle Parker, media specialist. And district-wide, we had a special education social worker resign named Lindsay Jordan.
Move to accept.
Second. Any discussion? I'd like to add with regret to all of those. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, that's for non-public. Okay. Oh, is it? Oh, okay. I apologize. Phyllis just clarified one issue.
Okay.
There are 3 lists of staff that have been presented to the board of nominations, and those do need to be moved in public. So I believe they're in your folder. Thank you.
Oh,
I don't see them.
I don't either.
They
This
just
is the full
reloaded.
slate.
Refresh.
I see it now.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you. I usually don't have that problem, so I'll try not to overdo it either.
I don't see it.
It says nominations 3.2. and
Is
then
it in Drive or something?
It's in,
Scroll down.
it's
Yes,
agenda
it's in the-
3.2.
it's in the
It's in the
Google
drive.
Just-
Yeah, it just showed
Oh,
up.
I see it.
Scroll down.
So it's a link.
No,
It's in the board file under today's meeting.
Okay.
We go in under 4.6.
It looks like it's a one pager, but it keeps on going down. It's
Yeah,
PDF.
6.
You scroll. Yeah.
Rick and I just aren't. We're special. We can't see it.
I don't see it either.
Phyllis, can you help them or?
It's as far as it goes.
Here.
Yep, and then in there. and then Agenda 3.6.
Try refreshing again.
Nope, it's actually 6 pages long.
All right.
Where are we going?
So.
Yep.
2, total 4.6. And then the last thing in
Could you stay here in case I need further
there. I know,
assistance?
right? It gets a little complicated sometimes because things don't get loaded in.
Oh, is that it? No, that's, oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Thanks.
Oh, okay. I see it now.
Wasn't there when we all checked before.
Huh.
Is it just one,
It's 6
one
pages.
motion, one slate?
One motion, yes, it's the standard list.
Move
that
to
we-
approve the administrator professional staff nominations.
Second.
Any discussion? Anybody need another minute to finish reading?
So this is faculty that's renewing.
Mhm.
I have questions. So guessing these are, this is obviously a lengthy list. Are teachers like on a rotating?
No, it's a standard list that they send every year.
Oh, so are these all the teachers? I mean,
It's a lot of people. Yeah. Yeah.
not
It's
all,
the, it's
not the
the,
right word, but
it's the
okay,
district-wide staff that you're giving contracts to, everybody. That's why it's long.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. All right, I'm okay with that.
So I see a typo. in the-
Okay. You can notify Phyllis after.
Okay.
All right, any discussion? Further discussion, I guess. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Committee reports and assignments. My least favorite thing in the whole entire world. All right. So I'm going to go over the committee assignments for this term. So we'll start with BudCom, Jamie Fitzpatrick. Wellness, Heather Ingham. Finance, Jamie Fitzpatrick, Maura Bashaw, and Rick Edelman. Facilities, Jim Baker, Dawn Dutton, Rick Edelman. Excellence in Student Achievement, Jamie Fitzpatrick, Dawn Dutton, Tammy Mahoney. Policy, Maura Bashaw, Heather Ingham, Jim Baker. Personnel, Jim Baker, Maura Bashaw, Tammy Mahoney. PR, Tammy Mahoney, Rick Edelman, Heather Ingham. So I'd like to make a note because it's not easy figuring this out, balancing Newton and Kingston on every subcommittee, trying to move people around, get them where they want to be, get them where they have maybe experience outside from work, life, whatever it may be. So I did my best to try and put people where my gut told me was the right place to put them. I would like to make another note that I think, and I did shake most every committee up. There's one I didn't, and it's because they're so neck deep in background information. It's hard to start with a bunch of new people. But next time around, I'm going to recommend whoever is chair takes every subcommittee, keeps at least one person on that has some historical knowledge so that not everybody's starting from scratch, and then shakes up 1 to 2 people, because I think it's really important that everyone on the board gets a chance to learn about every subcommittee, because you can't make educated decisions without information. And each subcommittee goes into in depth in a lot of different areas. But without having that experience, it's hard to make all the right decisions or know you're making the right decision. So every year, I would love for future board chairs to really make sure they're trying to at least mix the board members up a little bit, so everybody gets a little bit of experience. So those are my notes. Now, yes, we don't really have any. Does anyone have any committee reports? I think everybody pretty much, because Tammy.
Excellence in Student Achievement is scheduled for a meeting next Wednesday. Are we still planning on
It
doing?
should be.
I will, I was waiting for the announcement this evening to develop the schedule, and I will work on the schedule. But yes, Excellence in Student Achievement should meet next Wednesday at 4:30 or 5. We can talk and we'll figure out a plan.
We've typically been doing.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. So we will move on. Student Council Representative Report. Jocelyn.
So we kind of are starting the next season of sports for the spring season. Middle school sports began last week, and their teams are forming baseball, softball, and track. Their numbers are a little bit low right now, but softball and track are hoping to start their games next week. High school began this week. Yesterday, the girls played at Spalding, and baseball and tennis are we playing in the next few days. And track will be start next week for the Pelham Invitational. And our lacrosse club, which we newly started this year with help of the Football Association, has about 20 kids, and they're very excited, and it's a new thing. So they're all having fun and learning new things because there's a lot of new kids. For the other stuff, sorry. After developing fitness goals, our cooking and / health class has been cooking and preparing foods in class, kind of like meal prepping. And they also talked about how to budget and be healthy without breaking the bank, because that can be difficult. So Mr. White did a really great job of teaching kids how to meal prep, and I sent Phyllis pictures, so hopefully she will send them out to you guys. Our middle school youth in action club is trying to foster a positive culture by giving their peers a platform to share inspirational messages to the peers throughout the school. They're run by Charlotte Scott. She's doing a great job. And Mr. Parker, a new counselor, is helping out with that as well, which is awesome. Student council this year, along with Spanish Honors Society and Key Club, are helping in the humanitarian cause of Baranova 27 to help get critically needed items to Ukraine, so we can help in support of that. So there's a QR code that's been around the school, and it's also in the constant contact. We're pondering many options as to how we support, because we want to be able to not only give back to our community, but try and do bigger communities. And Miss Bover had seen it, and she's like, I know, like, she's seen it go from the GoFundMe to help the people over in Ukraine. So she's like, I know it's trustable. I know we can use it in the future, which is a great source to know that your money is going somewhere useful. Kaylin Heath and Adam Putnam are performing with Allstate Chorus Concert this weekend in chorus. And they're going to go with Miss Isaac, and they're going to do an amazing job. So it's super awesome because not everyone gets that opportunity. 2 weeks ago, there was the Addams Family, won by Marie Isaac, and it was an amazing show. We were able to get a pit in the front, and they played, and we haven't had a pit before, or at least not at the time that I've been here. And they played, and it was awesome, and a very cool experience that for such a small school, we were able to put on such a big show, which is awesome. Key Club this weekend is going to Decon, which is a leadership conference. We're sending 7 kids, so it'll be a great conference for all and learn how to be more of a leader in our school. NHS is making blankets for elderly, so we're sending them over to Riverwoods next week for a spring basket, and spring carnival is coming up, so we have a lot of plans for that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So before we move to our first public comment, I have something I need to read to clarify public comment before we have people come up, because I don't want to have to shut anybody down. It's great to see so many of you here today and the passion in our community for our great schools. Before we open the floor to public comment, I want to explain the parameters of this discussion. School board meetings are meetings specifically for the school board to conduct its business. The school board has a lot of work to do, but we also want to hear from the community. To strike the right balance, the school board adopted policy BEDH, which governs our public comment periods. The school board strives to comply with policy BEDH at all of its meetings and expects all participants to do the same. While board meetings are held in public, as you may note, individual personnel matters are not discussed in public. Personnel matters are discussed privately in non-public and are not part of the school board's public agenda. Per policy BEDH, private personnel matters are not part of the agenda and are not appropriate subject for public comment. Staffing decisions are very challenging. Annually, our administrators make tough decisions about staffing and personnel. These decisions are never easy, and we know that the principals and superintendent think long and hard about retention and placement of staff. The administration is always open to feedback, and if you have concerns about specific staffing decisions, it is appropriate to share those thoughts and concerns with the building principal. While you may have concern about a specific staff member of the district tonight or any other night, voicing that concern during public comment is not appropriate. Rather, we urge you to bring your concerns to your building principal. Thank you. Okay, so for public comment, everyone gets to state their name, the town they're from, and you have 3 minutes. And that's why I had to clarify, because
if it's not, you guys can shut me down. My name is Elizabeth Landeville. I'm a Kingston, New Hampshire resident. I wanted to take a minute and thank you for looking more in depth at the school calendar for early release days. I know it was a tough thing to do and took a lot of time, but we working families appreciate the extra time put into this plan. We are losing and have lost many veteran teachers in this district. When is anyone going to look behind the scenes as to the why? Are they leaving because they want to? Are they leaving because of administration and the decisions being made? And are exit interviews being done? In the email that came out, it said that positions were being reallocated. And so my question is, what does reallocated actually mean? So for instance, if they're moving a teacher from a reading teacher to special ed, what happens to the kids on that teacher's caseload? And are they just shoved onto somebody else that's already overworked? My concern about the reallocating is that it's not the same as hiring and keeping our teachers. And then lastly, plans seem to be made far too quickly in our district. We as parents clearly more are here this time than they have the last 2 times I've been up here. We are still working on the first round of things that were promised to us. Some have been done, some haven't yet. Why do we need to reconfigure again before we completely did what was in the original plan? There seem to be more cuts and asking staff to take on more responsibility, and that's not fair to our teachers. Morale is hurting because of this, and nothing like pizza and coffee carts can fix what's happening in our district. Thank you.
all right.
Good evening, everybody. So my name is Melissa Hilfer, and I live in Kingston. I wear many hats throughout town and in the district. So tonight, primarily, I'm speaking as a parent as well as the Music Boosters president. And I respect, given the recent conversation, that specific things cannot be discussed, and I completely understand that. My concern is that while our goals typically lead us in the direction of fundraising and bake sales, I really must advocate on behalf of the music program in general, looking at across the board what it would mean to reduce or reallocate staff could have a very detrimental impact on the music program as a whole, looking at the chorus, looking at the band. Many people in this room right now have been treated to wonderful band and chorus concerts that sound like they never missed a day, who have been performing at the very top of their game. So too have we seen the drama production put on a top-rate professional level production like they never skipped a day. we're very fortunate to have the kind of staff that will dedicate the time to guide these students through the process. And the process doesn't start at high school. It doesn't even start in middle school. We're looking at the spark that alights in a child as early as general music in kindergarten or first grade, or maybe the first time they pick up that recorder. We can't expect the same vigor, the same spark, and the same interest in our music and choral, band, drama, fine arts programs across the board if staff are overworked, given too many students to handle, and are given too much on their plate. We do not want to decimate these programs that are sometimes the lifeline for students that get them out of bed in the morning. They are the people who make school worthwhile. Maybe you have a child that isn't into academics, but they came into school today because they knew they had band, because they are preparing for their role in a group that makes them feel like they belong. You can't buy that kind of acceptance. You can't buy that kind of vigor. The dedication that our staff has shown over these past 2 years has been nothing short of amazing. And I feel like it is our job as parents, as a community, to support them. And that's really all that I wanted to say tonight. So I would just like us to continue supporting our arts, our teachers, and recognizing them for the hard work that they put in and day out to make our students feel special, welcomed, and capable, and able to take advantage of the opportunities and experiences that will have an impact on them for the rest of their lives. Thank you. Melissa Hilfer.
All right. If there is no one else, we will move on. Strategic plan presentation.
Oh, jeez. I forgot about that. Yeah, I'll move over to.
So we're just going to let the projector warm up a little bit. This has been a long time coming, and if you need to readjust your seat, please do that, especially the board members. I'm going to just pull up a quick presentation to go over some of the background for where this is coming from. And then we're going to actually walk through the strategic plan that was developed. So hopefully folks can see this okay, and everybody can hear me. So our strategic plan would cover the years of 2022 to 2027. Generally, strategic plans are written in 5-year increments. So we're looking at a 5-year span, but knowing full well that this strategic plan would be a little unique in that it would be a living document. And you'll see what we mean by that when I get further into the presentation. Our strategic planning process actually started almost a full year ago last May, when we started to prepare for the whole entire process, thinking about our expectations, our success criteria, talking with board members and district and building leadership, and really outlining what was important to us as a district. And those are indicated in the 5 bubbles that you're going to see in a little bit. So that was way back in May or June. We conducted a SWOT analysis, which a lot of you in business might know of it as a SWOT analysis, but we looked at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges. We don't want to consider threats, but so we consider challenges. And we framed our initial targets based on the analysis, the district mission and vision, and the graduate success profile that was developed a number of years ago. In the months from July through September, we clarified and refined our targets, and we set our initial objectives for each target, answering a question: how do we hit our target? And you're going to see those in a little bit. From October through January, we mapped all of our objectives to measures so that they could be measured. We clarified language, and we shared the first draft with our staff for review and input. And we also shared it with the community for input. So this was our collaboration phase. In January and February of this current year, we presented those drafts to the public on the website for an additional input. We shared a second draft with the public and with the board. We had focus groups gathering additional input and information, and we created the third draft, which is the draft that we're going to be discussing tonight. And hopefully this is the draft that best reflects all of the work that we've been doing for almost a year now. We're hopeful that in April this month, we'll be able to launch this plan with approval, hopefully at the next meeting, and we'll be able to release the final plan to the public. It is an ongoing process, strategic planning, and operationalizing the plan, making it actually come to life, involves people sharing what's going on, regularly reporting their results, and so that there's accountability as we go through the process. Now, in the plan, I mentioned that there are some bubbles. These are our strategic targets. Our first target is the one closest to all of our hearts as educators, student achievement. And that target is to provide a comprehensive education that supports deep learning and fulfills the graduate success profile. And we'll get into some detail in that in a little bit. Our second target is people, to build a dedicated workforce by recruiting, developing, and retaining effective professionals. Moving along, our third target, facility operations, provide and maintain the appropriate infrastructure for current and future district needs. Target 4 is community engagement, foster positive relationships, community partnerships, and collaboration among all stakeholders. Target 5 is safety, provide a safe and structured learning and work environment. Those are the 5 big targets that we decided upon that encompass all of the different areas that we deal with as a district. And each of those targets has associated with it objectives, tasks, and milestones. And so now we're going to take a walk through the strategic plan. If you have copies of it, it's probably going to be easier for you to follow along with the copy. I will be projecting some of the papers or some of the pages on the screen, but the size might be a little bit small depending on where you're sitting. So I'm just going to pull that up.
Yeah, I want to go there.
And this is also on the website, on the strategic plan page of the website. And so here's our first page. This is the cover. I'm just going to quickly go through the cover page. This is an important statement. The strategic plan is a working document. So any of our targets and objectives can be changed at any time in order to meet current needs of the district. We might find in 2 years' time that some of these no longer apply for us. So we're going to be able to go in and make those adjustments. Yep.
Would those adjustments occur at a public board meeting?
Those adjustments would occur at a board meeting. Table of contents, really boring. Don't want to look at that. There's also a statement in here from the board, and the names of the board members are on here, about how this was developed and some of the things that I sort of spoke about. I'm just going to sort of buzz over that. Our vision and mission for our district are listed here. I'm going to go down to the next page. You're going to recognize this from the PowerPoint I just went through. So on this page, the components of the document are explained. So we've got different pieces. We've got the targets, the objectives, and tasks and milestones. Our targets are those bubbles, what we want to accomplish, answering the question, where does the organization want to focus its energy, resources, and time? So those are those big 5 areas. Each of those 5 areas includes within it objectives. And the objectives are the areas that are going to be addressed across the life of the plan. Each objective has a strategy, which is what we're going to do to get that objective completed. Implementation evidence, what's our proof that that's actually happening? And accountability, who are the people? And the people are listed by position, not by name, as people come and go. Who is responsible for doing what we've stated needs to be done? And then further, and this is the part that is sort of unique to our plan, is the tasks and milestones. Tasks and milestones sheets are actually living documents that people will be able to go in and change as the plan gets implemented and as things get completed. So people will go in and write down when they completed a task or when they're doing something to work toward the completion of an objective. So those will all be listed in there as well. These are the targets and the objectives are listed below them. And this is just a summary page. So we're just going to go through target by target, objective by objective. So strategic target 1, if you remember, is to provide a comprehensive education that supports deep learning and fulfills the graduate success profile. So this is the one that's all about student achievement. Our first objective, and something that's going to be addressed a little bit later in tonight's meeting, is to refine and clarify district grading practices. That's what we need to do. The strategy is what we're going to do to get the objective done. And there are 3 different pieces that we need to complete in order to get the objective finished. Establish a grading scale where grades are mapped to corresponding letter grades. Create family guides that communicate the use of the grading scales at each level. And train and provide professional development to teachers on how to use the scale and rubrics for assessments. The implementation evidence are the things we're going to have to prove that those strategies are happening. A grading scale will be developed. Performance descriptions will be created for rubrics. We're going to have grading guides at all the levels, and there's going to be professional development. And the accountability column, I'm just going to save you more of my talking here, that lists the positions for who would be responsible for completing that. Now, the tasks and milestones, these are links that you can actually click on, and these will bring you, of course, now that I'm live on stage, we can't, when it's not working, these will bring you to a page. Dan, any reason why I can't get this to work?
I think it's because you're in presentation mode. You have to come out of presentation.
Oh, that could be why.
Well, it's popping up on another window.
So let me pull it up on the website. So these are living links. Yep. And our first sheet gives us the target again, provide a comprehensive education, tells us the objective again. I'm just going to put this to fit. And then all of the tasks that need to be completed are listed here. These are the things that we've already decided need to happen in order to achieve the objective. And so you see that there are dates in here, and some of those things actually have tangible things that are going to be created. There might be meetings that have to happen. So task number 1, survey stakeholders on their understanding of the current grading scale by April of 2022. Review survey feedback in ISA May 2022 and set a plan for summer work. So those are the tasks. And as we complete those, we would be able to go in here, and the folks in the district who have access to this will be able to go in here and type right in here what's happening on what date and what actually was done. So these are the living documents that are working documents that we'll be able to use in order to complete that. Question?
You're going to cover the graduate success profile as well tonight?
So the graduate success profile already has been developed and is in existence. It's been on the website since, Tom, was that 2019 or I think it was, yeah. Yeah. So this would be picking up there.
Okay.
So I'll go back here. Target 1, we're still in there. Objective B, adopt and implement a rigorous curriculum K through 12 with clearly defined expectations of what students will know and be able to do for each grade level and or course. Yep.
Could you click on the graduate success profile and just to keep, it's been a while.
Yep.
So let's get everyone's brain back into what that was, because it is a core, it's the cornerstone. So I think it's good.
Well, I think it goes hand in hand with what we're talking about. I think there's a lot of good points on there, and I can tell you honestly, it looks familiar now. But
Yep.
it was a breeze over. For me. That's
It's
just
hard
me
because it's
personally.
been so many years.
Yeah, and there's a lot of added value in there.
So the graduate success profile was, let me just check the date at the bottom. It's February of 2020. So this is just before the pandemic hit, was something that we had worked on as a community. We had a lot of, they were not previously on the board, but a lot of our board members who are now on the board were part of the conversations to develop this. And the graduate success profile actually contains two components. It contains the portrait of a graduate, which are really the qualitative or the attributes and behaviors we want to see in our graduates. So lifelong learner, responsible individual, creative innovator, engaged citizen, effective communicator, resilient learner. But we've also got the quantitative or the academic measurement side, which is our definition of student success, which looks at independent lifelong learning, evidence of competency in math skills, writing, and then we've got success indicators such as SAT scores, ACT scores, different credentials, being able to have community-based learning experiences, and a defense of learning. So this was developed back in 2019 and approved in early of 2020. So target 1, objective B, the curriculum. Strategy, how are we going to get there? We're going to establish and regularly update comprehensive frameworks for courses in each of the core content areas, which are English language arts, math, science, and social studies, as well as our unified arts, music, visual arts, physical education, health, and wellness, based on our graduation competencies and performance indicators for grades K through 12. We do have established graduation competencies, and they're listed right here on the website. You can find them. And these are what we want our students to be proficient in by the time they graduate from our schools in grade 12. This is part of what is required of the state of New Hampshire for competency measurement. So those are listed there for your reference. We will also be developing units of instruction in understanding by design format for those core content areas and unified arts. We're going to implement system-wide intervention and multi-tiered systems of support, the intervention program that we've got funding for. So we're going to make sure that that gets utilized appropriately. How are we going to know it's happening? There'll be scope and sequence. There'll be a curriculum review cycle that is followed. In the curriculum review cycle, you can also click on that. And this was established back again, also pre-pandemic. And really, it's just a cycle of what are we looking at each year that needs to be refreshed or reviewed to make sure that we've got the appropriate materials, that we've got up-to-date supplies, things like that. So that's in there for your reference. And we're going to develop curriculum maps and assessments for all subjects. And people who are responsible are located in the accountability column. We're going to complete units of instruction for all content areas that are aligned to the competencies and performance indicators. And there will be annual summer summits for training and revisions. We're going to have the intervention multi-tiered systems of support, or MTSS plan of action, in place, benchmarks for core content areas, interventionists at each level, and special education growth and progress at each school. And just like previously, and of course, just like previously, we can't click on it. We have another sheet that can be filled out that includes the task, the objective, and all of the tasks that are going to happen. And then we'll fill in dates and when those are completed. That was objective B. Now we're on to objective C. Improve measurable learning outcomes for all students in literacy and math. How are we going to get there? We're going to set aligned district and building goals around literacy and math annually to reach district targets. The district target link is something that is still under construction, so I'm going to leave that untouched until we have a further conversation about that. We're going to incorporate reading and writing strategies in all content areas. We're going to implement math programs as designed. We're going to conduct instructional rounds focused on literacy and math to collect data and evidence of learning. Instructional rounds are really administrators and some teacher leaders sometimes going into classrooms and seeing what's actually happening. Are we teaching things we're saying we're teaching? Are we assuming things are happening and they're not happening? It's just really a way to see what's happening in the classrooms and to talk about some of the things that our teachers are doing. Implementation evidence, how we know it's happening, district and building goals, professional development, use of data through the PLC, professional learning community structure, professional development for math teachers, again, PLC data use, training for the administrative team and the instructional rounds tool. This is just something we put in here as reference for us in case we want to change it. We might be changing that out, but that's just something for us to think about using to do those instructional rounds. And the team will discuss data collected to create action plans for improvement. So this is a lot of work that's happening in the buildings with the administrators, with teacher leaders to talk about what's happening in the classrooms, what needs to be changed, or what we need to do more of. Let's go back here.
It's not like you today, Beth.
I know, it's just lovely because this was working just fine when I had it the other day. Do you need me to keep going through all of these or do you want, okay, perfect. That saves me some annoyance and embarrassment. Thank you.
Talk about the process, Dr. Haynes, of setting the goals for the percentage of students meeting certain criteria, that we recognize this spring that there are two things that are super important for the NEASC work and for us to move forward as a district. The two things that are very, very important are that we figure out what we're going to do with the grading system so that we can then write, we're also working on aligning our curriculum. You'll hear more about that later in the evening. Once those two things are completed, we were hoping that in September and October, we could have a robust discussion about the academic performance targets. We just feel like we really need to focus on getting the curriculum aligned so that it's ready to roll out for next year. I'm sorry, Dan. Thank you. I forget. I'm bad about this. Sorry, folks in the audience. So I think that talking about that those two things are kind of already in process. So they'll get entered into the document when they're completed or whatever is completed and where we are, and we'll be tracking it. So we wanted to have the conversation about the district targets in September and October and have that done. I think we set a deadline of November 1st. Is that correct, Dr. Haynes?
I think it was November, sometime in November. Yep.
Yeah. So I just wanted to bring that to, that's definitely very important to discuss. We're just trying to prioritize because there's so much to do. I also wanted to stress that if you look on the right-hand column, some folks made some really great points during public comment that teachers need to feel valued, and their input into this work is very, very important. And during the pandemic, we really haven't been able to do the level of collaboration that we would normally do as an organization, and that is a priority. So if you look, you see almost every one of these goals has teachers. We want the teachers involved in creating these documents and working on it because they're the ones delivering the instruction, and people are correct that that's an important part that we have education has sorely lacked in the last 2 years. So we are very much looking forward to that. Now I'll give it back to you, Dr. Haynes.
Objective D, establish and implement a K through 12 aligned fine and performing arts co-curricular program. Increase opportunities for students to see and participate in exposure activities, such as artist in residence, visit from outside organizations, field trips to theater and musical groups. Create and adopt schedules and offerings and programs of studies that encourage student participation and appreciation of fine and performing arts. Schedules, program of studies would cover that. And the last one for this target is Objective E, implementing the portrait of a graduate by instructing and assessing the habits and work study practices necessary at each grade level. So the work study practices in New Hampshire are sort of those soft skills, being able to cooperate, being able to take responsibility, being able to follow through on what needs to be done. So we would be developing and implementing the work study practice learning progressions. So kindergartners are going to have a different level of responsibility than, say, 11th graders. That's what a learning progression explains. We would incorporate student goal setting to promote metacognition, that's thinking about how they're thinking, managing their emotions, and making responsible, caring decisions. Today, I was not really, or this past week, I really didn't play nicely on the playground. Next week, I want to share better with the toys that I'm using on the playground would be an example of that. Provide students with opportunities to learn and apply skills for daily life. Budgeting, filling out applications, sewing on a button are examples of those things. So it's those life kind of skills that our students need in order to be successful once they leave our buildings. Provide training for teachers in trauma-informed practices to provide support to the whole child. So what would this look like? We would have the work study practice committee continued and expanded. We would develop those learning progressions so we know what responsibility looks like in first, second, third, all the way up. Professional development sessions, responsive classroom practices. We had a huge year this year with the early release days that we had of having teachers getting training in responsive classroom, which is a perfect thing in helping our students to figure out how to do school, how to get back in the rhythm of things, because we've had a couple crazy years. Goal setting opportunities and conferences between students and teachers during morning meeting, advisory, FLT. Do the students know what they need to work better on? Are they having trouble completing assignments on time? Is that a goal they need to set? All kinds of schedules, career fairs, training about trauma-informed practices for our whole child growth, and our system of care grant support and alignment. Superintendent Ambrose spoke a little bit earlier about a position that we hired in alignment with that grant. So that ties right in nicely there. That was the first target, which was all about student achievement. Now we're working on to target 2, which was people, building a dedicated workforce, recruiting, developing, and retaining effective professionals. And the first objective is to improve employee retention rate of qualified personnel. So we would be developing and implementing an employee engagement plan to help increase retention. This would be surveys, the engagement plan, looking at areas of critical need. Every year, the State Department of Education sends out areas of critical need. There are certain content areas where teachers are in high need. Could be physics teachers, could be special educators, all kinds of things. So we'd be looking at that even in our own buildings. Review data collected from exit interviews to identify areas in need of improvement. We'd get that information from our exit interviews, reporting trends to the personnel subcommittee every year. Partnering with New England colleges and holding in-person or virtual job fairs, networking meetings, having college students come in as substitutes and student teachers to put their foot in the pond and see if they like it. Using social media and online job search engines to post all available positions. So social media announcements would be evidence of this, and memberships or accounts with different job search engines. It's not just putting the jobs out on the educational job search engines, but things like Indeed and looking what else, where are the other places we can look to really cultivate our personnel. And the folks listed here: Human Resources, Personnel Subcommittee, Finance Subcommittee, Superintendent. Objective B, strengthen the teacher induction and mentoring program and align instructional coaching and specialized training. So we would review and conduct a critical assessment of our current mentoring program. We do have one in place. There would be a report generated for that. We would examine different mentoring or training programs to select one that fits our needs here. So that would be a report that shows the analysis and piloting or enacting one that we've chosen. Train staff as instructional coaches and trainers to match district goals. So we would look for interested staff for train the trainer and instructional coach opportunities. And these could be things from coaching on math. It could even be people who we just in our recent March Professional Development Day had folks who got specialized training in some youth mental health first aid, which is very important for us to recognize signs of suicide in our students. So they were able to provide that training so that our teachers are aware of what they need to look for. Objective C, continue to foster collaborative culture focused on professional learning and teacher leadership. We need to increase our vertical grade and content area meetings across the district. So we would know what's happening by the minutes that we collect on those meetings. We would provide enriching professional development opportunities and programs. So that's our district professional development plan, teacher professional development surveys, the professional development committee meetings. Our district professional development plan currently is in our rewrite phase. That needs to be done by the end of this school year. So we're in the middle of rewriting that as well, and that's something that is a state law. Ensure that the structure and function of a PLC, a professional learning community, is being followed across the district. We would know that that's happening through goals, minutes, and additional professional development so folks know what we mean when we say a PLC. Cultivating teacher leaders and encouraging collaborative discussions at all levels. We need teachers to step forward to help lead their grade level or their content areas. So we're going to do that through building team leader meetings, professional development, professional learning community meetings, cultivating who we have inside. That ends our people target, and this moves us on to facilities. Target 3, provide and maintain the appropriate infrastructure for current and future district needs. This is all related to the capital improvement plan, and this is one of the other components that we have sort of offshored the capital improvement plan approval until I believe it's December.
It has to be done for the budget in the fall.
Okay, so fall, sometime in the fall, but this would be linked there. And again, strategies, how are we going to make sure that we're using our buildings and infrastructure efficiently, improving costs to provide lighting and heating systems, ongoing reevaluation of district and building spaces that can be refreshed to provide additional instructional opportunities, identification of concerns and recommendations to protect structural integrity of district facilities. How do we know it's happening? We've got the implementation evidence here. Installing lighting, heating controls, comparing energy usage, annual reports, capital improvement plans. And here's the little caveat at a school board meeting in the fall. Objective B, support regular technology upgrades and explore innovative solutions. If nothing else, we learned during the pandemic how critical technology is, and we've got to be at the top of our game as technology continues to improve. We want to be able to have our students right on top of things so that they can take advantage of some of those things, because we know that those are skills they're going to be using in the workforce. So match user end technology to current curricular needs. So we're going to align software with curriculum, have a renewal cycle for hardware because computers don't last forever. Align network needs with user end technology. So transitioning from in-house servers to cloud-based, making sure that we've got the IT equipment inventory changes cataloged, upgrading our Wi-Fi and wireless capabilities. So those are the two big components to the facilities target. We're already on target 4. Hang in there. I know it's long, but we're almost done. Foster positive relationships, community partnerships, and collaboration among stakeholders. So we want to expand family involvement and engagement. Provide training to parents and families on the student information system and other software that students and schools use. We would provide training videos. We would have demos during open house for our parents and families. Provide video demos or resources related to curriculum and content area programs for families to review at home with students. So demo videos would be on the school sites, resources for families, Google Classroom links, ways for our families to support our students in their learning. Combine performances and celebrations or exhibitions of learning with parent conference nights and open houses. That would be through schedule. So if you're having an open house, you might want to also have an art display so that people could see all the wonderful things that our students are doing. So really bringing in families in the community to see what we're doing in our buildings. Objective B, improve internal communication and public relations with the community. Implement a text messaging option for family stakeholders for notifications. We sort of already have this going, so we kind of put this in here because we're proud of the work that we've done with this. So we would choose the software solution for multiple means of communication. One thing that would be sending phone, text, or emails, and the communication channels will be used by all the buildings. Regularly update information on our website and cross-posting to social media accounts, making sure that we've got current information on all of our web pages, making sure that our calendars are up to date, making sure social media is reflecting what's on our website, and exploring expansion of the YouTube channel that we've got that this video is going to be housed on, and other videos by stakeholders. So increasing the videos available there, and then looking at the traffic statistics that IT department is able to analyze to see who's going to look at those videos and review what we're putting up there. Objective C, bolster community partnerships K through 12. Expand extended learning opportunities, our ELOs in classrooms and in the community. So we're going to have a list of our businesses that host our ELO students. We're going to make additional contacts or continue to keep what we've got with professionals in the community, and survey the students in the high school about how are your ELOs applying to what's really happening in the real world. Once you've left us and you go out there, were those ELOs helpful? Expand community-based and school-to-school enrichment programs, artists or authors in residence for our younger students, outreach from our student organizations to community organizations to the senior center, for instance, having guest readers or speakers come in, having career days so our students are aware of what's available to them once they've left school. Strategic Target 5 is safety. Provide a safe and structured learning and work environment. Strengthen the safe learning and work environment. We will collaborate and calibrate with state, local, and regional safety partners. So having quarterly meetings of the Superintendent Safety Task Force. Conducting tabletop safety exercises, which is really, you put out a scenario of a safety situation and it's happening on the table. So you sort of sit around the table and discuss what you would do. You don't really enact it. So that's a tabletop exercise. Making sure that our building emergency operation plans are updated and in places where people know they can get to them. Assess and update building security and fire measures. So looking through our audits, again, tabletop safety exercises, our emergency operation plans, all evidence of this. Ensure staff are trained in safety procedures, protocols, and handling of student behavior as outlined in state law and district policy. This is huge for us. This is what we spend a lot of our time at the beginning of the year making sure that everybody has their ALICE training up to date. CPR, first aid, defibrillator training for folks who need it, bloodborne pathogen training, sexual harassment Title IX training, cybersecurity training, know and tell training, which is about child abuse, suicide prevention training. All of those things involve safety. Establish safety and health regulations for the protection of employees in the public sector. Our joint loss management committee meetings are doing that, so that would be evidence of that. Provide students with safe and secure school environment, anti-bullying training, our responsive classroom practices, policy updates that are aligned with what's happening in the state legislature, our morning meetings, advisory, and FLT to make sure our students feel safe and feel like they belong in our community. Objective B, efficiently and effectively utilizing personnel and resources across the district. Utilize personnel in such a way as to provide opportunities for all students to participate in non-core content classes and extracurricular activities. We're going to know this is happening through schedules, our program of studies, and our extracurricular activities. Increase the athletic field use and performance space by professional staff for teaching and learning through our schedules and program of studies. And assessing and updating staffing needs at each building and adjusting accordingly through our program of studies, our schedules, and any of the extracurricular activities at each school. And again, any of these you could click on, and of course now it's working. See, look, it does work. You could take a look at what the list of tasks and milestones is. Objective C, and I think this is it, folks, so I know you're all going to be heartbroken. Improve and streamline transportation. So we're going to expand the types of transportation available for small group needs. We would analyze what's available. purchase or lease vehicles to improve these options, looking at our lease options or contracts, reviewing and revising district policies related to transportation through our policies, reviewing our bus routes, including the number of students, stops, how much time students are on the bus through bus routes, and analysis of transportation. And at the very end, in case I spoke too quick, is a nice glossary of all the alphabet soup terms that we use in our educational life. So that in a, I don't know, coconut shell. It's not a small nut, but a coconut shell is the strategic plan. At this time, I would open it up for conversation and if anybody has clarifying questions.
I just wanted to thank Charlton Swayze for encouraging us to have the glossary. I hope he's watching this video. So for those of you who were at the board meetings in my early years, Mr. Swayze did not like acronyms, so we were very careful to not have any acronyms that were not defined. And that is really helpful. Before we progress, I just wanted to say thank you to Dr. Haynes and to Christine DeRocher. They have read a mountain of feedback from people, parents, teachers, board members, staff members that aren't necessarily teachers. The where this started and where it is today is a very different document, and we really are grateful for all of your hard work. So thank you.
Yeah, the feedback you got, I didn't, and I certainly don't want to put you on the spot, right? I'm curious, how much feedback did we get from students?
You can ask Dr. Haynes.
So we did have some student input, but we generally don't survey all of our students. We look at our older students to give us input. So we got a little bit of input, but not as much as we got from the adults.
Great. So I think that the just for a process clarification, the process this evening is that we wanted to have a presentation of what we consider to be kind of the final version of the document, and then allow the board to have a whip around and ask questions or talk about anything that they'd like, as Mr. Edelman just did, and give everyone a chance to speak. And then if you have further questions over the next 5 days, we're not looking to adopt this evening. We're looking to adopt it next Wednesday. Okay?
Has anything? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll start because I don't have a ton to say, but the plan is thanks for providing it. Very well done.
Thank you.
I think that for parents to digest it, they're going to have to take some time and really, look through it.
Mhm.
I do want to just bring a point. I think it's the second page. The strategic plan is a working document. Any of the targets and objectives can be changed at any time in order to meet the current needs of the district. So this is a plan. So like any plan, I don't care if it's school or business, there's roadblocks and obstacles and stuff happens. So by adopting this, we're not saying, hey, here's the Bible. It's a plan. And I think that statement's pretty important to pay attention to.
I guess we'll just go in order. Yeah. As I've said before, it's a very well-written plan. It is a very workable document. We want it to be organic. We want to be able to work with it. I was excited to see that some of the mental health stuff was put back into it because that was not in the second draft. I am curious for your trauma-informed training. Will you be using a certified trauma trainer?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't know what yet, but it's everything that we do is to state or national standards. So
I too am pleased. I'd reiterate what Mr. Ambrose said with the evolution of this plan. And it's comprehensive. It covers a lot of territory. It's kind of vast, really.
There's a lot of work to be done. Yes.
Yeah, but also, education has been around for a long time. And it would seem to me that some of this stuff could be off the shelf, available. You talked about understanding by design. And so I looked them up and I read about them, and they have 5 key ideas, 5 bullet key ideas: goal of education, students' understanding, effective curriculum and development, student and school performance gains, teachers, schools, and districts benefiting by working smarter. They also talk about templates. They have design templates.
Mhm.
They have standards and rubrics.
Mhm.
So I'm sure you're familiar.
Mhm.
Um,
That was what my PhD was on, but
You
okay.
also, yeah, you mentioned Partners for Educational Leadership, the instructional rounds planning tool.
Yes,
You mentioned that you may not use that. But
That's-
that seemed like a really valuable tool.
right.
I think that should definitely be part of this.
That's an example. That's what we like right now, but it could change. So, yep.
And also the there was the Marshall evaluation. I saw a lot of areas when you're talking strategic target 2, where you're talking about employee retention, strengthening teacher instruction, mentoring programs. We have the Marshall Plan, but I don't see that referenced. I think my suggestion is that should be part of this.
Well, that's part of the professional development plan.
Okay.
And so we were struggling. There was a tension between, it was like a Goldilocks thing. We had to make this just right, and we keep adding stuff to it. It's going to be massive. So there's things that are inside of other things. So as you look into like the curriculum review cycle, there's other things in there. There are links within links. The professional development plan, which is in rewrite, references the Marshall Plan, but because that's in rewrite,
So that
it's
is
not
in
linked.
there, it's just-
Right, exactly. Yep.
And then I had one other thing I wanted to ask about. Got a lot of papers here. Oh, I think again, it was the just give me a second here. I'm sorry, I'm a little disorganized here. Okay. There was something, I know I have it in my notes. I just want to find it because it's important. Oh, here it is. Strategic Part 1, Objective C. You talk about, I think you clicked on the link, the SRSD Annual Achievement Targets. You talk about the state, in that it talks about the state of New Hampshire using data spanning from 2006 to 2014 on the state's previous assessment. And it lists their various assessments. And it states the goals for the state has established. For proficiency, for ELA targets, for math targets. It establishes them by year. Are we adopting that as part of our proficiency goal?
That was something that Tom alluded to a little bit earlier about something that has to be approved next fall. We're trying to adopt the plan, knowing that there are two things, there's two caveats. One is that, trying to figure out what our targets are, but because we're working so hard trying to develop our grading and our curriculum, that has to wait till fall. And the other caveat was the capital improvement plan. So there's two things that are associated with this, but we're looking at a separate approval of those things, knowing that they will be linked into this plan.
I guess I would need more, in order for me to approve the plan, I'd want more detail on those two areas, because those are so key. You talk about goals and benchmarks, but without having goals and benchmarks or knowing where those goals and benchmarks are going to come from, it's a little bit too wide open.
So
Not defined enough.
can I chime in on this?
Yeah.
We agree with you. They need to be defined.
Okay.
We're asking that the board adopt the plan, knowing that we'll define them by December 1st of next fall. We can't, they're a part of the plan, but we're so focused on the grading conversation and the alignment of the curriculum that is so critical for the next year and the NEASC process, that there are just too many irons in the fire. So we're saying that, yes, we need to set those goals. But what we're saying in here is that if you click on objective target 1, objective C, you'll see inside there that in the objective document, that's a task that needs to be completed in the fall, Jim.
All right.
So we agree with you that it needs to be done. And Matt has a lot done on the capital plan. And now that the subcommittees are set up, he's broken it into 2 sections. One is capital improvements, changes, and maintenance. So we decided to break it into 2 documents instead of 1 to differentiate between maintenance and actual issues that need to be addressed. And the facilities committee, which I believe you are still on, correct? So that facilities committee would be working with Mr. Angel, and he thinks that we can do that a lot sooner than December 1st, but we're just trying to be reasonable about the timelines and try to make sure we get
That
it
would be
done.
great, because I'd like to tighten up some of these timelines.
We can't go any faster than.
I mean, that's why I brought up some of the stuff that, I mean, it looks like you're trying to reinvent education here, to me. That's why I brought up some of this stuff could be off the shelf curriculum. Some of this, we already have a curriculum. We've been told that we have a curriculum, but we don't have an integrated horizontal curriculum.
I think it might be good for you and I to meet
Okay.
and just have a conversation about this, because it's deeper than we are not reinventing education. I have to disagree with that respectfully.
All right. I'm just saying
we
it
are.
seems that way to me.
Yeah, and that's why I understand that you're sharing your perspective.
Right.
And I just want to, for the public clarification, I just want to be clear that my caveat to this whole document is that our teachers need to have time to have input into what we're doing and be collaborating on the creation of it.
Mhm.
Because if we don't value them, we're going to keep losing them. And I'm not okay with that. So I'm saying that in order to create a scope and sequence of a course such as American history, we need time to sit down with the entire history department and say, these are the things that we know the students need to know and be able to do at the end of a course of American history. The amount of curriculum material that's out in the world that you can buy off the shelf is massive. If you just said to us, choose a canned curriculum, that would take months, because they would have to read, review, and try every different version. We've spent 7 months collaborating with the math department at the high school and middle school, and we're now just ready to choose a math curriculum, and they have had full input on that process. I met with them last week. For us to work as an organization and be effective and have staff retention, we have to have teacher input. So having teachers write understanding by design units is a process that is very common in education, but it's done in collaboration because different teachers choose different things to teach in different units, and they need to be aligned. And they need to do that together based on what our students know and are able to do. It's a very complex process. And this is typically done 1 subject area per year by a district. We're trying to do the 4 core subjects in 6 months.
So
4 core subjects in 6 months. It's a huge
one more
process.
thing, and then put this
Yeah.
that into context for me.
Yeah, I'll help you. Yeah.
Okay, so objective B under target 1 is develop units of instruction,
Mhm.
math and ELA by June of 2024.
Mhm.
We already have a math program in the lower grades.
Mhm.
We're implementing one now in the upper grades.
Mhm.
We've got science by August of 2025
Mhm.
and social studies by August of 2025.
Yeah, we're moving much faster than those targets.
Okay.
Much, much faster. So there's more information that's going to come out later this evening about the end of the school year, and just at the last early release day. So this whole issue is symbiotic or connected to the proposal for the calendar for next year.
Mhm.
And it's also connected to the proposal for the end of the school year. So I think that why don't we go through the evening, and then if you have further questions, we can chat, but I do want to share your questions and answers publicly, because I think it's really good for parents to hear what we're thinking and for families to understand that this is a complex process. But I also think this could, sincerely, I could talk with you for another 45 minutes about just this last question, because it's a big, big process.
Okay.
So it might be good for you and I to unpack it and then talk about talking points at the next board meeting.
All right.
Yeah, but for the community's awareness, we just met with the middle school staff and wrote what we call a year at a glance, which is the basic large 30,000-foot view of the units for the year for next year. And at the end of the school year, they're going to start writing the first 3 or 4 units. So when we have extra days at the end of the year this year, they're already starting on those targets, Jim, that were set a year and a half out.
Okay.
So we can adjust some of the dates, but you have to be careful, because as Dr. Haynes alluded to and Rick talked about, there are a lot of forces at play here. And if you set it too tight, you can set yourself up for, I'd rather come in early than come in late and ask for more time. And I just want to remind everyone, most school districts align one content area in a year. Because of the pandemic and all of the challenges that we've faced as a community and organization, there was a point where our focus was on getting people literally food. Literally at lunch, driving food around to the community and dropping it off on doorsteps.
Right.
And so we are finally very happy to be talking about teaching and learning. Like, this is great to talk about this instead of masks. So I'll leave it at that, but it's a great conversation.
So I just want to say again, I really, really appreciate a lot of work you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
So yes, I want to add my opinion onto with everybody else's, that this is extremely thorough, and really appreciate that you took a lot of the feedback into account from the earlier versions. I had Jim jumped ahead of me. He stole my. I wonder if some of the discomfort that Jim expressed is just coming from the fact that we're approving this plan, which encompasses this the district targets, but the district target, there's no notation on the district target link page that that's linked that says to be done, TBD.
Oh, yeah.
We can add that.
Actually a district.
We could
target
add that.
page
Yep.
there
Mm-hmm.
That I feel like we would be approving, which I'm not sure. So that I had the same reservations that Jim expressed with regard to that piece. And the only other feedback that I have, I guess, is that most of the other strategic targets, at least somewhere in the accountability, include board subcommittees, but I don't see that in the facilities targets. There's no,
Oh, yeah, that was another part.
there's no
Yeah.
Yep.
mention of the facilities.
Easy add. Yep. Thank you.
And, again, this is that, I'm just trying to envision the matrix that you're going to have to create to manage all this. It's yeah.
Daunting? Yes, I know. My hairdresser is happy though, the gray hair and all that.
I might have to start doing that too.
It's too late for you.
I know.
All set?
Thanks, Dawn.
You're welcome.
So I'll add my songs to the chorus of the work that's been done, in the depth of the work and the amount of effort. I will also express my thanks to Dr. Haynes and Mr. Rocha for the time that they spent with me on this, and for the time that we'll spend further on this as we go through it. Some of the notes that I took. In my mind, the objectives and tasks need to be tightened up. It's been alluded to. If we think that we're 2 years ahead of something, if math is listed at 24, 25, and we're going to be done in 2022, then we should be tightening that up. Also, when you look at accountability, just from a business perspective and from an effective means of bringing something to fruition, having a whole list of all these people are responsible is the same thing as saying nobody's responsible. So there should be, for every every task, for every strategy, there should be a name or a position that is leading that. Can anybody do it on their own? No, they can't do it on their own, but somebody must be leading it. This is what I want to touch on further on. We talked last week about staff meetings. That would be then where you could talk about to Rick's comments about things come up. That would be where you could say, hey, look, I'm leading this, but A, B, and C happen. I'm falling behind. I need help. And then at the staff meeting, we can rearrange resources to be able to address those priorities. So I think that we really need to do that. The timing in my mind, there's an awful lot here. A lot of the things that I see in some of the safety and some of the other areas are just codifying what we do now. We're out actually doing some of those things now. But I think we need to stay focused on, we need to get the grading done, we need to get the curriculum up to date, and we need to get the student achievement focus and those targets in. In my mind, I understand that we don't know where that target's going to be, but you could simply extrapolate from the state averages. The state averages themselves are not good targets because they're inferior. They say it's okay to have 40% of your people not proficient in math. That's not a good target. But that's what the state targets are. At a minimum, I'd like to see us simply extrapolate, which says in math, you're picking up 5 points a year, and in English, you're picking up 4 points a year from where we are today to at least get to the state averages, which aren't very efficient. We could then refine that and say, okay, we're reviewing this further, et cetera, but at least that addresses some of the concerns as to we really should have something that we're looking at there. Some of the items that I have to spend more time on, and I'm going to need some support on, is there's numerous links here of material that I've not seen before. So I've got to go through all that material and get some help in understanding what is being said in the material.
Sure.
So there's just an awful lot there. When you start drilling into this, there's an awful lot of links in there and an awful lot of data sets. I also noted the Marshall evaluation plan. To me, from the student achievement perspective, if we're going to be driving student achievement, part of that is, okay, what is a curriculum? What is it that we're supposed to be learning? And what is it? This grade builds on this grade, and this builds on this grade. And then the different grades in the same class are learning the same things. But part of that is observing the instructions that are going on and then maximizing on those best instructions. And that ties back in to, I forget which set of goals it is, the people goal strategy 2, when you're talking about, okay, from the Marshall evaluation, you get better understandings of who is really killing it, really driving great instruction in a particular area. We can take that person and bring them into a leadership position and into a mentoring position in order to help build a better culture and a better relationship and drive that student achievement. So I think that that's important to include that directly. And then I just caution on the CIP plan, we're linking to a CIP plan that the dollars on it haven't been quoted even in the early years. A lot of it is wish list items. So I don't want people to go to that link and say, oh, here's what the plan is. That's not the plan. The facilities committee had not approved that. The board has not approved it. It is a working document that is primarily right now a list of everything that could be addressed in the future, not necessarily based on needs or timing. So I just want to make that point out too.
Can I speak to that quickly?
Sure.
I think that would fall under the same thing, Dr. Haynes. We'll take that link and link it to a to be announced page. The
It's
CIP
right. It's
link.
right on the strategic target pages, though. It says it right underneath the table.
Right, but if the link is live right now, let's shut it off because the plan hasn't been approved yet.
Okay, I can do that.
No, thank you. That's great.
And the other item I had, and I did notice a lot of items that were picked up on different versions and different feedback have been incorporated, but I also note that some items have not been incorporated that were pointed out, and I'd like to get a better understanding of that. Is that an oversight? Is that a deliberate decision? What's the reasoning behind it, et cetera? So as I said, I've got a list of questions, and I've already got time scheduled with Dr. Haynes and Mr. Rocher to talk about those. But I'll end with just saying that the amount of work, time, energy, and effort in this has been tremendous. And we can use this as our boilerplate to move forward and to drive what needs to be driven. But it is a living document. Things will change. That's why I think it's very, very important. A particular lead on everything, because then that lead can raise the alarm if we're falling off the track, and then we keep our priorities in alignment. So thank you to both of you.
Would you like to go next?
Okay. Okay. I think I'll just kind of echo what everybody else is saying. I really well thought out. I like the links on it. I like the targets. I hear what Jim and Tammy are saying with, we want to make sure that we're moving forward at a speed, but I understand that you can only put targets for so much. So I think the point's sort of been made that we want to see the forward moving progress. So I understand the predicament. But otherwise, good with me.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I'll just keep it short and sweet and say, thank you. All the hard work.
We did a lot. Christine and I, yeah, we plowed through a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yes. And this is, I mean, complete 180 from the first draft.
Mhm.
This is, yeah, it's amazing. I just wanted to question on target 1,
Mm-hmm.
objective E.
Mm-hmm.
We talk a lot about, we're talking about metacognition, emotional management, making, responsible, caring decisions. I know, so I was quickly Googling responsive classroom, so I made sure I understood exactly
Mhm.
what that meant. And it's a lot about social emotional learning. I Googled metacognition to make sure I was,
Yeah.
when I Googled that, it looks like you can kind of interpret that a couple different ways.
So the way we're referencing, yeah, we're referencing it as thinking about thinking, making sure that when you're going through a problem, trying to solve a problem, whether it's a math problem or real world problem, you're thinking about, okay, what do I need to do next? How do I go about this kind of a thing?
Yeah. And I just want to make sure that when we're doing this, that executive function skills
Mm-hmm.
taught from pre-K up.
Mhm.
It's as simple as sort these blocks is how you start at the level, by color, by shape, by size.
Mhm.
And it's really critically important that that is a main focus here, as well as the social emotional learning, to make sure that our kids are prepared, because I see as our kids come up through school, the executive function skills just aren't there. And I think we really focus a lot at the younger levels, but then I think we kind of fall off. So I want to make sure that that's something that is really strong pre-K, K through 12. That's so I'd really like to see executive function in here somehow, like specifically, because metacognition
Explicitly stated.
Yeah,
Okay.
because metacognition is a little gray.
Yep.
When you look into it, so I really want to make sure that that's a focus, because that's going to help our students yesterday, today, tomorrow. It's something they need long term. So that's really my only point.
I left out a couple things.
No, you did not.
These are just simple and important.
I'm going to give you 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. So on strategic target 3 or 5, 5A, you have provide a safe and structured learning and work environment. And you have, let's see, I think you should add under the accountability, the facilities and the finance subcommittees. You have ISA under some, you have finance under some, you have facilities under some, but these committees are important under the accountability aspect on that one. And also on strategic target 3, oh, that is under, okay, that's strategic target 3 under accountability headings A and B. You already have them under strategic target 5A. Okay. And then on strategic target 5A, as I said, facilities and finance are included in 5A. Under accountability heading C, I think you should add finance and facility subcommittees there as well, because it deals with purchases, leases, and contracts.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dawn.
May I close just briefly?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I want to thank the board for the feedback, and there have been some great suggestions tonight, and this is what's been happening for 9 months. It's just a constant cycle of we make a version, it gets a little bit better, people give us feedback, Jamie gives us 9 pages of notes and a 3-hour meeting, and then we get more feedback, and then another meeting with Jamie. But it really is, in all joking aside, there's some great feedback tonight, and there are a couple of things that I think would be really helpful. First, I think that we might want to consider either under the accountability, placing a point person under each item. A position, it doesn't have to be a name of a person, but I do agree with Mr. Fitzpatrick that if there isn't a point person to shepherd that item, that's tricky. And I think that's a great point. I think that we can talk about the academic targets a little bit more next week. Remember, if you're adopting the plan says that we'll set the academic targets next fall. I just want to remind people of that. That's what the plan says. The plan says that we'll adopt the strategic plan, the capital plan by December 1st. So that's what this draft of the plan says. Those things have deadlines in them so that they get done. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear to the public. And thank you all for your feedback.
Great. So Patty, I guess you get to come back up for grading survey maybe? Or is that just a Tom thing?
I'll take the lead on that one.
Let me translate. She's saying leave.
Yes.
Yeah,
She's saying I am done. Tom.
This is pretty cool. I have a foldy page. So you've all read the grading survey draft. We did 7 iterations of this survey. And I've worked in collaboration with the chair and vice chair on the current survey. The current survey basically asks parents to give us feedback on which type of grading do you understand better. A 100-point scale where an A is 90 to 100, a B is 80 to 89, a C is 70 to 79, a D is 60 to 69, and an F is less than 60. Or a 4-point scale where an A equals 3.4 to 4.0, a B equals 2.4 to 3.3, a C equals 1.4 to 2.3, and a D equals 0.4 to 1.3, and an F equals 0.4 or lower. And then we ask parents, which one do you prefer? The 100-point scale or the 4-point scale? We asked the students, and then we also made a wide open box for parents to give us feedback on grading and what they'd like us to do differently. We just want to know what you think. It will be helpful. For students, we wanted to know which one motivates them to work harder. So did they prefer the 100-point scale or the 4-point scale? And we asked them which one would they prefer. And again, we asked the students to give us comments. For the staff, we asked the staff to really think about it's a little bit different survey because they have a different level of professional experience. So we asked them, which do they prefer for grading and what are their questions or concerns? So we asked them about effectiveness. Which one do they prefer from a effectiveness standpoint? And which one do they, what do they want us to know about grading and what's going on in the district? So we went from a 14, 18 question survey to a 3-question survey. It was quite a process. So I do hope that the board adopts this survey because we'd like to get moving before the ISA meeting next week. We'd like to have the results for the meeting next week. But if you have questions or you'd like to make an amendment to it, we don't need a vote to adopt it. We just need you to kind of give us your blessing that you're good with the current version.
Yeah, and I just want to say, yeah, we started out with my parent brain went like it was way too in depth. Nobody was going to take the time to read through the entire thing to answer the questions. It was kind of not so, in my opinion. It was just too much. We're trying to ask a very simple question. So I said, okay, we need to go KISS. Keep it simple, silly, we'll say, and really get to the nuts and bolts of what we're trying to figure out. So we collaboratively kind of came up with this, which I think gets down to brass tacks, which is what we're trying to figure out. It's, effectiveness for teachers, it's understanding for parents, and it's motivation for students. We want to know the answers to those questions. And that was the reason for going so simple. If we want to dig deeper, we can always ask more questions later, but that was the reason for leaving the area for input as well. So that if parents want to give us information, if students want to give us information, or if they want to put a question in there, whatever it is, we can get more from those by leaving it open-ended sometimes. So this was kind of where we ended, and hopefully you guys will I guess understand that, just understand that's, how we ended up here, I guess. So. Jim, did you have a question?
Yeah, on the 0 to 100 and then the A to F. Are you going to have with the A, B, C, D, E, F aligned with the 0 to 100? You can have like B plus, A plus, C plus, C minus, B minus.
That's what we currently have right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't want to, we went back and forth with what to put in the 2 questions.
Yeah, I can see keeping it.
Detail.
Right. And the same thing with the 4.0, 3.0, 2.0, you'd have a 3.75, 3.5, et cetera.
At
Yeah,
one
those are
point I
just the
had-
grade point ranges.
Yeah, at one point I had one that had A minus / A / A.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just convoluted.
right. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes,
I think simple is better.
thank you.
I just have a question. How are you going to distribute the survey? How are you going to decide who to send it to? I mean, students and staff, I suppose, are simple in terms of email addresses, but what about parents?
We have all the parents' email addresses as well.
Yeah, I feel like
We
I'm
do the
in a
survey
rock
to the
band.
parents a lot, so we should be able to just go out to the parents through.
We'll use the Alma system and the new school messenger system with texting. So we can text them the link to take the survey, which, by the way, if parents didn't respond to the text message saying you want to opt in for the text messaging, you have to do that, because then we can text you information from our automated system like school closures, surveys. It's just a lot easier for me personally to get a text and be like, oh yeah, I got to do that. But we'll email it, we'll text it, we'll put it on the website. And we did talk a lot about what to ask from people. We are asking staff to be anonymous because we want them to feel safe to really tell us what they want. We are asking parents to tell us so that if we have a question about their comment, how to contact them, but they don't have to, right? Because we want to make sure that they're actually a parent that's taking the survey. We don't want anyone falsely giving us information, but we also want to be able to ask them if we need to clarify in their comments what they meant. That's really important. And we will, with the students, I think we were going to do that anonymously. Is that correct, Dr. Haynes?
I think that's what you would decide.
Yeah, thank you.
Just a question on the process also to Tammy's point. So if we put it on I think you would want to put it on a Facebook page or something, because there are people that aren't parents now that will be because their kids are younger, or people that aren't parents now, but their kids just got out and they certainly have an opinion as to what their children just went through and experienced. And we want to gather that information also.
Or students who recently graduated, I was wondering.
I know I'm not supposed to generally ask questions, but sometimes, in my opinion, Google Forms are like something you have to fill out. You fill them out as quickly as you can just to get them done with. And I'm being honest, as a student, have you thought about doing discussions, like coming down, talking to all of us, telling us what your plan is, and then asking us what our opinion is in a discussion? Because sometimes there'll be a lot more talking than filling out a Google form, because they're just a pain in the butt. And it's like, I know we need to do them, and I know that's the best way to cater to everyone, but I think sometimes a discussion brings out more opinions, and you might not hear everything that you want to hear, or there might be things that are said that aren't really necessary, but I think it might be a better way to translate student to, like, just get a better student opinion, because there's sometimes not as much as I think what you guys would like to get, because there's a ton of kids who won't fill out the Google form.
And that was the whole reason that when my parent bring up, because the
It was
number
way
of
too
questions for students, I was like, they're going to read the first 2 and they're done.
Yeah.
Like, so that was the reason for 2 questions, basically. What's going to motivate you? Which do you prefer? And then if they want to leave comments, but I would love
I'd love focus groups.
I would love that.
I'll talk with Dr. Haynes about doing some focus
Yeah.
groups. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean,
But we do want to do the survey too.
yeah, we need to do
We
the
need to get the
survey because
data.
we have to have some data.
Yeah.
But if we could, even the principals or something,
I'll
figure
do it.
something
I'll
out.
do it.
If you want to
I-
go
I
in.
wanna- Yeah, no, I met with the 11th and 12th grade students last year.
Yeah.
And grading came up a lot in those focus group meetings. So I asked them 3 questions. I think you might have been a part of some of those groups.
Yeah.
I asked them what was working, what wasn't working, and what would they like to see us, what ideas do you have?
Yeah.
But grading came up a lot.
Yes.
And so that has actually informed some of this work when I met with the students last year, but I'm perfectly happy to come back and meet with them some more. And honestly, I need to meet with, I have a group of kids that I haven't met with yet, so I'll make them a part of this.
Okay.
I might not get to everyone because it's a lot of students,
You could.
but what I don't want is for the students or the parents or the teachers to feel like they're going to be judged or criticized for their opinion by teachers or administrators. I want them to feel free to just talk to someone about it. So I'll talk to Dr. Haynes and maybe Mr. Rocher. We might kind of split it up and meet with some students. It might be a focus group, but we'll see what we can
Okay.
do. I'll contact you to talk about how to get the best information.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks, Jocelyn.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments or?
All right, can I just get like a thumbs up? Everyone good? We good? All right, thank you very much. Or was that an abstain or were you just not thumbing up? Oh, you did? Okay. Well, you're on this side and they're all over there.
I know, I'm on my island over.
I know.
You guys aren't great.
Good recovery.
I've been removed from all the other schoolwork.
Well, passing notes didn't help. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Got yourself. Okay, last day of school, curriculum development plan.
I'm back.
I saw
I know,
you
because
there.
you haven't had enough of me, so you're gonna have some more. So, as you saw in the strategic plan, there is a lot of work to do with curriculum. And tomorrow and Friday, actually, I'm going to be going on a NEASC visit because ours is coming up. So I want to see what's going on. And one of the components of making sure that we receive reaccreditation for NEASC is having curriculum that's written in a common format, and it's, throughout the district, K-12, all the content areas. So in looking at the hours that are required for our schools and for our students, and looking at the current calendar, and looking at the amount of work we've got to do, and thinking about what the contract is for days for our teachers, there are a few things that sort of went through my mind, and I've come out with a proposal, and I emailed the board, but I'm going to explain it so that everybody who's listening is on the same page. We are required to have 945 hours, because we count hours in the district, for our elementary schools. Because there will be no more snow this year, we currently have 967 if we're going to end on June 17th. For secondary, we have to have 990. We already have, by the end of the year, if we end on June 17th, 1,012. So looking at that, thinking about the amount of work that we have to do and calculating how many units we can get written with the teachers that we have with us who are currently going to be at the end of June in the same academic mindset of what needs to be done, I'm proposing that we end school on June 15th as a half day. So ending school 2 days earlier, which would get us to, by the time the teachers leave us with 186 days of working, their last day would be June 24th. They will have been able to write for us, I'm estimating, 3 units of learning of curriculum before they leave us for their summer. I think that that is a good investment to get that amount of work completed so that when they return to us in the fall, they're off and running in a good direction. We've got units written. We know people are trained up on how to do this. We can continue to do the work over the summer. There's a plan for that, but we really need to have a critical mass of work done so that we can say, look at all this that we've completed. And so I'm asking the board if we can end the school year for our students on June 15th, which would be a Wednesday, as a half day, which would give us 7 full days with our teachers to write curriculum, and then also pack day and a half of packing time, because we do have some moves that are happening. And I did share in the email that I sent out a piece of a draft of a year at a glance, which Superintendent Ambrose spoke about, which is the 30,000-foot view of really mapping out what's taught in what month. And that's still in a draft format. So we need to have that in place, which the teachers are going to be writing in May in order to start writing units in June.
So we would need a motion to amend the calendar to end on the 15th.
Does anybody have any questions for Patty first?
When did you send that email out? Was that just in the last couple of days?
That was sent, hold on,
I think it was last week,
It
maybe.
was last week.
March 24th.
Okay,
The
okay.
rest of the week.
I was looking for something like.
Yeah, March 24th.
Gotcha. Motion to approve? Is that what you're looking for?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Okay.
So from my perspective, the question is, we want to get a school with students in seats ending 2 days early to focus time and energy on curriculum. When I weigh that in the balance, what I see is the last 2 days of school, and I'm sure kids haven't changed too much from when I was a kid. There's not a whole heck of a lot of learning going on in the last 2 days of school. And anything that we can do to get this curriculum more in alignment will pay huge dividends when we get into next year. So I'm more than willing to trade 2 non-productive days for kids, because we didn't have a lot of school days, so we're not behind on anything, to get a much more productive start off of next year and to really kick this thing into gear. So I would support this.
And I think the students will go, woo-hoo.
Yeah, they will.
This will be on Facebook faster than some other stuff. Yeah.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor? All right.
Thank you.
unanimous.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Our teachers, thank you. They'll have time to collaborate, and this is really good.
Right. And now we will go to Rick, if you would like to, you asked us to put school district culture on the agenda.
Yeah.
Done that, so.
And it's getting late, so I'll be quick if that's possible. I guess first, thanks to everybody that's here tonight, because this is the most people that I've seen. This is only my second meeting, but I've been at meetings before, and it's good to see people coming out and expressing concern or thoughts. So I started this off last time I was talking about, my experience, and I'll get to my statement here quick because I wrote it out so I don't go all over the place. About, my first experience in Kingston was, Kingston Days. NKTA had their 10 up, and I was, didn't know anything about Kingston or the NKTA, but I was first told right away they were the devil. So then I signed up for the budget committee. And I want to be clear that it's what I'm about to say, it's none of the current selectmen, but the selectmen that were in place at the time. Don't put any new houses in town because you put kids in school and the school's the devil. So, and those are quotes. So, coming into the town, my first experience was like, what, like what's going on here? So it was alarming. So anyway, I think, Jim Baker said it best in January at one of the meetings. District has had a long history of default budgets and failed contracts. My opinion, and this is all my opinion, year after year, we continue to have extremely low voter turnout. And I think that, we're finally supporting the teacher contracts and the budgets are getting, passed. One quick thing, everything I'm saying tonight, I'm saying from experience, and I'll quickly just tell you why. In 2019, I worked for a large organization and, almost a $2 billion organization. And we decided to rebrand. We decided to implement a CRM change, centralize our ordering process. It was a lot, but we had the bandwidth to do it. And then COVID hit. And we got very familiar with 14,500 plus employees, non-unionized. The term was being fed through a fire hose. And we lost a lot of good people. So getting back to the NKTA and the parents, because I believe we have parents, NKTA, we have a senior community, senior members of the community. We have to be open to listen to ideas from all sides. Ideas typically generate collaborative discussions, Collaborative discussions typically result in better outcomes. Some people have been arguing for so long on social media that whatever the other person says automatically, because of who the person is affiliated with, it's not correct. And I'm here to tell you that I've met with people on both sides, and there's great ideas. I see the time that's put in on social media arguments, and I think, how can we harness that time and energy and get it moving in the right direction? It's one of my lofty goals, and it's one that I'll continue to have focus on. Chris Bashall, I remember when people say things, he was here a few meetings ago and he said, we don't live in one of the most affluent towns. And I agree. But when you don't have the extra funds to spend, everyone, the students, the parents, the staff, all have to work harder and smarter to continue to move forward. Change is not easy. And if we're going to put everything in place that needs to be, which is a lot, as I think you've heard tonight, it's going to take a collaborative effort by all members of our community. It's going to take hard work, conversations, suggestions, good and bad. Even bad suggestions can lead to critical thought discussions and positive outcomes. And my second and last point is this. We are still 100% in the Great Resignation. I can speak from my professional everyday experience, talking to my customers, from pharmaceutical to tire shops to manufacturing, the services industry. It's a reality, and it's still occurring every single day. To think that our teachers are not contemplating their situation every day would be absolutely absurd. Over the past few months, I've had many conversations, which will always remain 100% anonymous. And the phrase toxic environment has been stated more than once. And I know we spoke about a SWOT analysis, which my company does on a regular basis. And I heard the word challenge instead of SWOT as strength, weaknesses, opportunity, and threat. But I can tell you, toxic environment is a threat. It's not a challenge. Other phrases like not valued, not appreciated, and I feel like I don't have a voice were also stated. I think we can all agree not everyone is motivated by money. The instant someone who is not motivated by money feels undervalued, unappreciated, and have no impact on what they're doing, they leave. Or they stay and they become unproductive because they resent where they are. I've heard the numbers for years on student to teacher ratio, and they never made a lot of sense to me. They do now, I get them, I get the algorithms, and you break out your abacus and add in all the staff and et cetera to get the DOE numbers. But I can tell you, I never had a child in a class with 10.4 kids. And when our teachers hear this stated in an open forum, it's without a doubt poorly received. Think undervalued and not appreciated. If I was teaching and had 16, 18, or 20 kids in my class and I heard comments made about a 10.4 to 1 student teacher ratio, I would feel like I just got punched in the mouth. So with that in mind, I'm almost done here. With that in mind, I just like to take a minute to thank some people. And I'm not going to go through my whole list, but I promise, and this is in no order and nobody that I spoke to, but I'd like to thank Mrs. Amy Carroll, kindergarten with 16 students. Mrs. Amy McDougall, first grade, 21 students. McDougall, sorry. Mrs. Trisha Black, second grade, 16 students. Mrs. Laura Oliver, second grade, 20 students. Marianne Klamarczyk, 19 students. So there's a long list here of teachers that we all should thank. And that's all I have.
All right. Move on to 7.5. That is Matt.
All right.
I was going to ask the school board to calculate the annual tuition rates that what we do this time every single year. The rates have been calculated according to school board policy JFAB, and they're also calculated using the Department of Education formulas, which are actually part of our annual reporting, which is the DOE 25. For those of you that have been on the board, it was that form that you signed back last September. Now, what I'm going to do is there's the first block here is the current year's rates, next year's adopted rates, and then the maximum rate. So the current year adopted rates reflect a time when COVID was hitting us hard, and we had a lot of we couldn't find teachers. We were having difficulties trying to find product. Oops. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're having difficulties trying to find product, and so you'll see that the rates last year were lower because we couldn't spend the funds, and this year is going to be higher. So starting with the current year, elementary schools is $22,265.64. Next year, it will be $21,269.23. The middle school is $16,907.04. Next year will be $21,446.38. The high school is $18,223.04, and next year will be $31.99. The maximum rate, which is 110% of the 2023 rates. And this is a calculation according to the school board policy. And for elementary, $23,396.15. The middle is $23,591.02. And the high school is $20,935.19. Now, the last part of this is the Fremont tuition rates. And the calculated rate is, and the calculation for the Fremont tuition is based upon an agreement between the Fremont School District and Sanborn Regional School District. Now, the tuition rate is $18,269, and the capital costs are $2,056 with a total of $20,325. Okay, any questions?
So this is according to the Department of Education formula?
Yeah, so if you look at the, it's called the DOE 25, and what that does is it lists out all the balance sheet, income statement, and expenditures of the school district. And it has an automated formula embedded into the spreadsheet. And at the bottom, it calculates the tuition rates. Okay, so this is something done automatically every year.
Okay. So I know when they report the numbers on their website, the cost per student doesn't include busing, transportation, or debt service. Does this include those?
For the most part, okay, there's two problems that's associated with that. Okay, the first one is that the way that the DOE 25 is set up, the calculation is kind of nebulous. You can't really see the actual formula, but the state does have another form that does simulate that calculation. It goes through and takes the general fund, which is your day-to-day operations, adds in the special revenue fund, which is your grants, also adds in school food service, and then allocates revenue across the school food service based upon the number of students. It doesn't really match up the revenue to the individual schools, so it's kind of funky. And then it does add and subtract certain items like transportation, not so much capital costs for the numbers up above, and then tuition for special education and other capital costs.
So those are not included.
It depends on what the item is. For most of those, it's not included.
Okay. So when you calculate Fremont's numbers, they provide their own transportation,
Correct.
right? But we provide food service, but food service is not included in this calculation.
Food service, it's kind of I don't really care for how the state calculates it, because it doesn't allocate the revenue to the individual school.
Yeah.
So I can't say for certain that it's calculating it without food service, just because of the way that it's allocating between the schools.
Okay. And the debt service is the capital cost for them
Yes.
under their,
Let me be a little more specific about that.
okay.
The debt service is based upon a bond amortization schedule. It's kind of like your if you have a mortgage at home, it looks like your payment schedule where you have principal and interest. Now, offsetting that cost is going to be a payment that we receive from the state of New Hampshire. So the state of New Hampshire pays, I think last year was $490,000 towards that debt service. So we're not paying the debt service entirely. And what's happening is now that the middle school's moved into this building, the capital costs for this building have been allocated between the middle and the high school. And so the Fremont capital costs have actually decreased because the size of the school is decreased. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's also important to note that the part of the reason why the middle school amount went up and the elementary school went down
Yeah.
is because grade 6 has 79 students in it. So when you take the cost of running the building, the number of students goes down. But the middle school also will have grade 6 for next year.
So this is adjusted to reflect
The changes.
the change.
Yes.
Okay.
It just looks like a big jump in the middle school. I wanted people to know what was going on.
Do you need a motion to adopt this?
Yes, please.
So moved.
Second.
Further questions or discussion? All in favor?
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Unanimous. All right, approval of academic calendar 22-23.
I'll take this one to give Dr. Haynes a break. I think she's had the mic all night. And Dr. Haynes, do you want me to handle this one? I got it. Okay, so I want to thank everyone for extensive feedback and input about the academic calendar. We listened. We listen all the time. We reflected, we talked. And the teachers that I met with on the day that they were doing the curriculum writing made it clear that they felt that having full early release days would be way better for them, because what they expressed is that, and it is congruent with some of the parent and other people feedback that we received, is that when you've been teaching all day and the kids leave, you're still kind of stuck in the kid world. And it's hard to switch gears. And I agree with that. The problem that we were struggling with was consistency and having enough time to do the work to maintain the units. So we worked on some plans. I met with some teachers and they gave me the feedback that they felt that the day that we recently had in March was incredibly productive at the middle school. And so I listened to that. And then I met with Dr. Haynes, talked with some other people about this. And we decided that we would, not only does the current proposal of having full professional development days on October 7, I'm sorry, I want to get this in the right order, October 7th, the 27th of January, the 24th of February, March 17th, April 21st, which was placed right before April vacation so that the parents could leave a day early if they wanted to go on a trip. We felt like we could get a win-win. And we did the same thing in February. We placed it right before the February break so that the parents could get I know as a parent myself, flights are expensive. And if you have one day, it can make a really big difference. So we tried to plan them to help our families, but also get the work done. The other driving factor that was really important was the NEASC study. We're having our study, we found out at the end of November. There will be a lot of writing and work to do on curriculum and other documents after November. So that's, if people wonder why they're set up in January, February, March, and April, that's because we plan to do the NEASC work then. I worked collaboratively with the principals. They are working on models to try to schedule their specials so that teachers can still meet weekly. And they will be mixing up they have a weekly staff meeting for 1 hour. Some weeks the staff will meet as a whole staff to do some of the things that Mr. Fitzpatrick talked about. And sometimes the staff meetings will have to be PLC meetings so that they can talk about curriculum and instruction. So I really hope that everyone sees that the administration listened very carefully to all the feedback. And this is another step toward what Mr. Edelman was talking about earlier, that collaboration and working together is really important for a school system to function. So we hope that you'll adopt this. And then I'll talk about the school board calendar. That's a very brief conversation. Yes.
So just 2 points. So since we just amended to change the last day of school, we'll have to change it on this?
No, this is next year's calendar.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't affect that decision.
All right. Okay. I'm very grateful that they will be full days and they will be spread out, obviously once a month after November. But as a parent, the 24 half days were just overwhelming. And then
Oh, yeah.
having 1 hour a week would have been just too much. So I am very grateful that we were able to come together and have just traditional full days, because those are much easier to plan around.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Maura.
Just to, so there are no early release days next
There
year.
are no early release days at all.
So I would
Oh,
just-
sorry, there is one, the end of the year. I could hear Dr. Haynes. I can just, it's like she telekinetically tells me,
Last day.
Tom, don't do that. No, are there any others, Dr. Haynes? I want to be factual. I don't think of the last day as being an early release. It's the end of the year. I know. What?
It's the last day of school as I have.
Thank you, Dr. Haynes. Yep. Thank
And
you.
June 9th. June
Yep.
9th is labeled early release on here too.
Yep.
Oh, for graduation preparation.
Yep. Oh, yes, June 9th also for graduation prep. But it's only,
It's cool.
yeah, no, they're at the end, Maura. So moms and dads, I stand corrected. You will have
Fine,
to.
I wasn't trying to get you on.
No. I'm glad you asked. Yeah.
Overall thing that there are no, except
Yeah.
for those two, there are no early releases next
Yeah.
year.
Just to be technically correct though. And I think it's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
So I guess one more question. What if there is a snow day on a professional development
Mhm.
day? Will the teachers?
Oh goodness. We're not going to have a professional development day, snow day. We would work remotely. We'd have to get it done.
So it'd be
but-
okay.
But just to be clear for parents, technically June 9th and 16th are early release days. So plan ahead to do something festive those afternoons because the little ones will be coming home earlier.
So I've just concur with Heather's comments. I agree completely. I didn't like the 2 hours. I disliked even more the 1 hours. And as I mentioned a couple of times, I think the effectiveness of what we're trying to achieve is far, far greater when you have concentrated time as opposed to trying to back it up to a staff meeting or do 2 hours right after the kids. So I think it'll be much more effective and I support it.
Thank you.
All right, you need a motion to,
Yes, finally
I
approve
make a
this
motion
calendar.
to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Rick.
all right, any further discussion? Everybody's like, no, just get to the vote. All in favor?
Yay.
All right, unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, we did it.
All right, now approval of amended school board calendar 22-23.
Yes, we received an email from the Fremont superintendent noting that we had to move the Fremont meeting in May for the school board calendar. And also, just as a side note, there's a mistake on the current year's school board meeting calendar. The Fremont meeting is Tuesday, May 10th, not Tuesday, May 3rd. So we just found that out a few days ago. If we could just have a motion to move it to May 9th next year, so it's formally adopted by the board. It's a long way away. I'm assuming that won't be a problem.
Just clarification, do we have to change this year's from the 10th to the?
We probably should. Thanks. You should include both in the motion. Yeah,
Well, do you need them separate or can we do them together?
you can do them together.
So I'll make a motion to change this year's Fremont joint meeting from May 3rd to May 10th and to adjust next year's meeting to May 9th
And approve and accept the calendar.
and approve it and accept the calendar.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All right, unanimous? Woo-hoo. All right. Second public comment. So just state your name, your town, and
Hi, my name is Heidi Legier. I'm from Newton. And I know that throughout the evening, a large part of the conversation has been surrounding coming up with a new curriculum for the upcoming years. And my main question would be that will the parents have access to the content being selected in the curriculum And will we be able to have input in what is going into that content and being taught in our classrooms?
I'll defer to Dr. Haynes. She's the curriculum director. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, can we
we
have,
will address that in an upcoming meeting because we typically don't answer questions at public comment, but I
but we
hear
can
you.
connect you and
But
Dr.
could you email
Haynes.
Dr. Haynes? That would be really good. And talk with her. Thank you.
All right.
Hi, I'm Mary Fina from Newton. And I would just like to thank, I'm all over the place tonight, just so you know. I'd like to thank the Sanborn Boosters for organizing last Friday's basketball game. Thank you to all who participated and attended. Thank you for the shirts. It was a wonderful night and it felt good to feel normal for a few hours. To hear the laughter, to feel the energy and the smiling faces was great for the soul. I also had the pleasure of attending the Addams Family Play. I was quite impressed with the production, the orchestra, the cast of all ages. We should offer a free viewing to the seniors in our community. It was quite enjoyable. I'm looking forward to the middle school production this weekend. With that being said, our community has had a rough few years. We completely reconfigured our schools and then the COVID-19 pandemic struck. No one could have predicted the mayhem we have endured. The COVID-19 pandemic uniquely impacted our children with social isolation, constant uncertainty, stress, and fear has plagued their lives. Growing up in regular times for kids has its own set of challenges. The effects of COVID-19 will be felt for a long time. Our kids are stressed, violence, mental illness, and suicide are all on the rise. And I see even in Sanborn, a lot of meanness going. And this has just made things worse. So Dr. Haynes and Mr. Rocha, thank you for the specific plan with measurable milestones. Checks and balances are great tools. We need to track what works well and what could be better and create specific action plans for improvement. Sharing best practices across the district is another great tool. We have a great team. Let's utilize them. Our kids need us adults to pause, regroup, and stop making rash decisions. We need to look at how our recent changes and decisions have impacted all the children and stop dramatic changes until things are under control. We need to improve and fulfill our original promises of intervention and bring everyone up to speed. As we talk about our 5-year plan and strategies, we need to understand some kids are excelling while others are severely lagging. Our responsibility is to meet the needs of all students. We have students that are almost illiterate, and we have kids who are taking VLAX courses so they can participate in electives such as band and foreign languages that are necessary for college. Not all kids need just the base core classes, and not all are college prep. We need to find a way to provide education for all the kids so they can excel no matter which path is best for them. How do we do this? We need to retain and support our teachers who provide so much more than learning for our children. We need to all be involved from parents to staff. We need to find a way to reach these kids on an individual level. We need people to step up and be present. Parents, we can't complain from the sidelines. We need to be more active and supportive of it as well. I know a lot of us work 2 and 3 jobs and are busy, but our children need us. It's time we come together and support one another. Mr. Ambrose brought up tonight that, or somebody brought up, teachers need to be valued. You're correct, they do need to be valued. To the board and administration, yes, I know we're not talking, oh, am I done? Okay. Oh, I can finish? Oh,
Can't turn it off.
okay.
I don't know what's going on. Seriously, I literally can't turn it off. I don't know.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Moreno. I live in Kingston. I have a huge concern about there being a lack of division between the middle school and high school. I understand that it had to happen. I understand that measures are being made to try, and keyword try, to keep it separate. I have friends with kids that are in middle school, and I know that it's not separate. Kids are saying that it's truly not. I moved to this town knowing that there was an elementary school, a middle school, a high school. Truthfully, I have debated moving several times because of this move. Moving 6th grade now to the high school is even more of a concern for me. I've actually stopped thinking about moving because I made a home here. I don't need to make a change. I think the district needs to make a change.
I don't think I'm the only parent that's concerned about it. So that's why I'm here today. I'm sick of being angry and voicing my concerns from behind a computer. I think I'm not the only parent that is truly concerned about this, and change needs to happen. And if it needs to start with me, so be it. And I will find other parents to kind of help along. Second thing is transparency. I know a lot of parents are very, well, not necessarily concerned, but just kind of, I just kind of hear the message over and over again. We're getting surveys, we're being asked for our opinions. I think something as simple as releasing the answers or kind of popular choice of said surveys might make parents feel a little bit more heard and validated so that we can kind of compare the data. What does the town think about XYZ? What did the board decide on XYZ? That's my piece.
All right, if there is no one else. Next Sanborn Regional School Board meeting will be held on Wednesday, April 13th, 2022, next week at 6 p.m. in the library at Sanborn Regional High School. Sanborn Regional Budget Committee will hold candidate interviews for the Kingston vacancy on Thursday, April 14th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. in the library at Sanborn Regional High School. If interested, please see the SAU 17 website for details. And the next Sanborn Regional Budget Committee will be held on Thursday, April 21st, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the library at the Sanborn Regional High School. And we will now, who would like to take us into, who's taking us into non-public now? There you go.
I move we go into non-public session under RSA 91A:3, section 2.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. Roll call vote. Rick. Heather.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Tammy.
Aye.
Amy. Aye for
Yes.
myself. Maura.